Mhm. Hello, everybody, and welcome to today's investor party, real talk, hashtag party chatter. If you're looking to get involved and you want to participate in the conversation today, go ahead and check it on Investor Party. The link is there. Otherwise, you can join. Just let me know. I'm going to put the link as well. But if you want to get access to participate on these calls, you need to join community.investorparty.com or just go to investorparty.com and sign up. You can join in the conversation and actually just have some dialogue. So today, we are joined by our extra special guest star, Mr. Alfonso Salemi. Hello, Alfonso. How are you?
Hello, hello. How's it going?
It's going fantastic. So glad we're finally able to do this.
Yes, absolutely. I'm very excited. And I jumped on one of these calls a couple weeks back that you just happened on Facebook, and we've connected, spoken a few times. So really excited to and love what you're doing for the real estate community and helping out a lot of people. So anything that I can do to contribute and hold a candle to what you're doing, I'm really excited.
You're sweet. I'm not doing anything. I'm just talking to a microphone and make people laugh and sex harassing my guests. It's a good mix. You gotta have a good balance, make people blush, make them laugh, give them education, and make them slightly uncomfortable. I'm really good at all of those things. So thank you. So I'm gonna make sure, again, on Facebook, if you're on Facebook, I know Kristen, hello, Teresa, everybody like this. Give me a like so I don't feel like I'm doing this for nothing. It's just for my self-esteem. So thank you. Okay, so we're gonna go and get started. I'm really glad to know what Alfonso was talking about because he came highly recommended by Pip Stellick. So for those of you who know Pip, he is a lease option trainer who is brilliant at what he does. And now we have one of his proteges from Canada. Alfonso, where are you based?
So I live in Hamilton, Ontario, which is about I don't want to say kilometers. Let's say an hour from Toronto, just under an hour from Toronto, but southwestern Ontario.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I get it. So that's just, where it snows. For me, it's all snow. That's all I think of when I think of Canada. I think just nothing but snow.
Yeah. You got it. Yeah, you know what? Luckily, it's been some nicer weather the last couple of days here, but yeah. So I guess the closest U.S. city would be like Niagara Falls, U.S. We're about maybe 20 minutes, half hour from there.
You call that a city?
Niagara Falls, Buffalo, that area. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, I think that we've got a few people that are from that area on the call. Sorry about it. Anyway, Steph, I see your face right now. It's hysterical. So, so glad you could join us. So tell us, the point of these conversations, we want to help people adapt their real estate business in today's market with everything going on with COVID, and now we've got these riots, and obviously there's a lot of uncertainty going on around the globe, but specifically we know there's a lot happening here in the States, especially now that we have an election year. And election years, by the way, for people who don't know, if you're just getting into real estate, election years are where real estate really stalls. Like, right, Pamela, you see this too. There's a every 4 years, because people don't know what's going to happen with our administration, the economy kind of buying and selling shifts somewhat, especially in the higher end markets. And that's because they don't know who's going to be in office, so where should they put their money? Because that could change under Republican or a Democrat rule. Not that I'm not saying anything about it one way or the other, but people plan accordingly based on the election results. That's one reason why I do like lease options so much, because it allows us the ability to play a little bit safer. We can invest a little bit more flexibility, if you would, right? So, Alfonso, tell us why did you get investing, and tell us a little bit about why you like lease options.
Yeah, exactly. For some of the reasons that you said is, from an investment point, we all know that there is some inherent risk, right? That's investment, whether it's the stock market, real estate, hockey cards, or baseball cards, right? Since we're talking the U.S. crowd, there's always some type of inherent risk when you're investing. With the lease option, or we call it here rent to own, or there's all different types of names for it. But the reason why I prefer this is that it does mitigate some of the risk. When we have tenants, people that are partners that want to own the property, we're happy to work with them because they're going to take care of the property like it's their own, and it eventually will be their own once they do the things they need to do to qualify. So that's the main reason, the main draw. And you made, whether it's an election year, whether all kinds of stuff that goes on in politics, US, Canada, and everywhere else in the world, there's always some level of uncertainty, right? So when something might change or might not change, people get stuck in type of like an analysis paralysis type situation where, well, I'm going to wait for this, or I'm going to wait for that, or the next thing, or the next thing after that. And people are waiting for like all the green lights on the street to be there, but you just need that green light in front of you to go to make it to make your next step. So and with all the things that are changing, with COVID and all different types of the environment, housing and living somewhere, I don't think will ever go out of fashion or go out of style. People always need to live somewhere, right? Whether it's their home, whether they're renting, whether they own the house. So with a lease option, it's kind of like that hybrid. And what I like to think of, like, it's from both sides, from an investment standpoint and from a client standpoint. It's a bridge. It's a bridge that's getting them, if you've never made an investment before, like when I was first starting, I was scared. Oh my God, tenants are going to ruin my house. They're going to break the walls. They're going to break this. They're going to crush that. They're going to, depreciate my property. So this way, you have a client that's a little bit more inclined to take care of the property, especially when they're going to own the property. So, if there's general maintenance, they're going to, close the windows in the wintertime, like you mentioned when we get the snow here. So they will close the windows so snow doesn't get into the house, or, take care of the property as its own. So from an investor standpoint, you're going to feel a little bit more secure. So you don't have to drive by the property or go check on it every day to see, oh my God, what are they doing? But then from the home ownership side, people that are renting, more cases than not, know that it's a better investment to own the property that you live in. It owns some type of, squared off real estate in this world that you can call home. It's safe, and you can have your family. So those are the main reasons. I love helping people either, invest and get a better return than they're currently getting on something, or some other avenue. And I love helping people to get into their home where they can establish roots in their family and they could call home for a long, long time. Those are the main reasons why I love the lease option rent to own strategy.
So how long ago did you start investing, Alfonso?
Wow. So it was 2009 that,
Okay, I totally thought you were going to sound like 7 years ago. I
yeah,
started like, it sounded a little different. Keep going though. 2009.
Yeah, well, I will say I did have hair when I started
Okay.
investing.
Yeah, so did I.
So some hair. Yeah, I've lost some of it. It's not all because of investing, but yeah. So it was 2009, 2010 that somehow I got the Rich Dad Poor Dad book in my hands, and I was reading it on a vacation. And when you're reading about passive income and your money working for you, you don't have to work, and trading time for money, and having like a cold adult beverage beside you, and you're wiggling your toes in front of the pool, it seemed really attractive. So I'm like, wow, I should know this, because I thought, real estate investing from what I knew was, you buy properties, you rent them out. Well, I don't have money. How am I going to do that? How am I going to rent out properties if I can't even buy them? So I got into it around 2008, 2009, 2010 is when I read the Rich Dad book. I went through, the training, the different levels of training, and that's where I met Pip. And I started getting involved. And at that point there, hired a mentor, got the mentor through the classes, and really just listened to what they had said, did these things. I had a sales and marketing background and business kind of background already. And to me, it made sense that, I just need to treat real estate investing like a business, where I need to make more revenue than expenses, and it could be profitable, right? So yeah, it was around, I guess, 2010 was really when I kind of started picking up, and then started actively making investments end of 11 and in 2012 at that point there. So about eight years ago.
Okay, so it's been 8 years since you started investing?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, the first investment was, yeah, well, again, there's a lot of analysis paralysis. I was all different types, getting introduced to all the different types of strategies, but it was in 2012 when I really decided that the rent to own or the lease option strategy was the one that I was going to move forward with.
Okay, so why did you choose lease options? Because, okay, so let's paint a picture about it. Let's go back in time. So let's say it is 2009. You have Alfonso sitting on a Mai Tai on a beach somewhere, because let's be honest, he probably wanted to get out of the frostbite where his toes could actually thaw and his testicles could descend again. So here I'm painting a picture. Just go with me, okay? I'm assuming you have testicles. So anyway, he's reading a book that changes everybody's life. We all read it. I told you, I gave you fair warning. Very, very clear. I'm not Pip. So you're reading a book that teaches people about passive investments. So let's go ahead and talk about what that means. So there are 3 types of income: earned, passive, and portfolio income. Earned income is income you have to actually sweat to earn, right? It's when you show up to your 9 to 5, or if you actually have to remodel a house, or if you got to make the phone calls, you got to talk to people. That's your sweat equity. That's your earned income, right? You got to show up to make the money. You got your passive income, which is the money that's continuous passively, like month after month it shows in. That comes in the form of rent. It also could be in the form of royalties. It could be in the form of note payments of some sort. It's another way of getting your income without you can sleep and make a little bit of money, right? And then your third one is your portfolio income. And that's the money that lasts longer than you do. So there are strategies where, so they're like your retirement accounts, which can be passed on to your family, or things like mobile home parks or apartment complexes, larger portfolio strategies that actually create generational wealth. So does everybody understand that so far? Let me see a show of hands if you understand it. If you've got questions, and put this in gather you. Okay, good. So you guys have to understand that that's what your portfolio income is. Oh, I'm so glad to see you guys here. Yay, I love you people. So we all know what's going on there. When you do a lease option, we're going to talk about what that means. It's actually part of your earned and your passive income, and we're going to talk about that. So lease options allow you to control a property without owning it. And we're going to actually have Alfonso talk about what that means in just one second. But let's go back to painting a picture so you guys understand the similarities between that time in 2008, 2009, where the economy was crashing and burning, and where we are today, right? Now, remember, the bottom of the market actually came around 2012, but the financial crisis hit 2008, 2009, all right? And then it just got worse. Okay, so there's a whole lot of things that happened. The government was starting to spend all sorts of money with what's called quantitative easing. The Obama administration went on and they started printing billions and billions of dollars, pumping into the economy with the intention that if it got into the economy, it would start being spent by consumers and would start lifting us up out of this recession, all right? Now, that is not any different than what's going on right now because of what's going on with COVID. They're just printing money left, right, and center. Again, so that's a similarity, guys. Quantitative easing back in 2008 and 9 versus what's going on in 2020. The government's just printing money based in hope, all right? It's not based in anything. It's just based in thoughts, prayers. They're hoping that people are going to repay it, hire people back, get things moving, stimulate the economy. And that's what we're seeing right now with the EIDLs, the PPP, all right? So the idea is that your employers hire you back so that the money that they use to keep their business afloat actually stimulate their local economies. So keep that in mind, all right? So that's one similarity. Lease options were a great way of getting into properties, like what Alfonso was talking about, because we didn't know when the bottom was coming. So this way he was able to acquire properties without putting so much risk in, so the properties dropped in value, he wasn't putting himself at risk. So Alfonso, we now know we set the stage, you're having a Mai Tai somewhere, you're thawing out, you're reading a book, you want to get into real estate investing, you take a training, you learn about lease options. Lease options is one of the most technical and creative strategies. We love this strategy. So tell us what happened from when you first you stepped into the class, you knew nothing, and then you went to your first deal. What was that span of time like?
Oh wow! So that probably took it was about just under a year or so. Because again, I was researching, looking at all the different types of strategies, seeing which one it was, and then finally, lease option was the one that spoke to me. Because I'll be honest with you, I was probably still out there one of the biggest chicken investors, right? Like I don't want anything bad to happen. I don't want any you're trying to control all the downsides, right? You don't want your first deal or I was putting into at that point my life savings right into an investment. So I was like, hey, which one is the best one, the most likely to come back and to help me? And at that point there, through the classes that I'd met, was part of different networks, and I had an opportunity that was presented to me that sounded exactly like what we were supposed to be looking for, searching for with lease option deals, the type of client, the type of property, the type of return, all that kind of stuff. And somebody in I guess it is one of the classes, or we got on each other's list, was my now business partner, sent out an opportunity, and I was the joint venture partner on that point. I was going to be the one that was going to buy it. I had good income. I was able to qualify for another rental property. And I literally sent an email back to his initial search for an investor to say, hey, I want to be the investor on this property. But my caveat was I want to learn exactly how he had done it. Because at that point there, he had done a couple of deals. I think it was two or three at the time that Adam had worked on. And I said, perfect. You already know how to do this. I want to create my own deals. I want to do all this stuff. I'll be the investor. I'm going to learn everything that I can from you and then go do it on my own. Suffice to say, we're still business partners today and doing it on, doing it together, because eventually, we had skill sets that complemented each other. So like I said, that first deal that came through, I'm like, okay, hey, it matches the ROI, it matches the term, it matches the tenant, everything that we learned in class. I said, hey, I want this deal. And he said, okay, it's yours. And then I was like, well, shoot, what am I going to do now? Where do I go? Luckily at that time I had my mentor in place, and he was just double checking all the stuff that we learned in classes, verifying the numbers, making sure the area, the appreciations, all that kind of stuff lined up. And yeah, that was the action. Signed a whole bunch of paperwork that I had no idea what it was all the time. It was just me qualifying for mortgage, verifying stuff, and it was it was a lease option deal, not too far from the U.S. border in Welland, or it was just not basically close to Niagara on the Canadian side. And that was the first option, right? I was the investor. We had initially said, okay, this is going to be a 3-year deal. This is going to be the term. This is what we're going to do. This is the cash flow issue responsibilities. And at that point, my business partner was really the active partner doing all the work. I was the money partner, but because I had that willingness to learn, I was on every phone call. I said, listen, let me know when you're going to call whoever, the realtor, the mortgage broker, the inspector, the insurance people, when the home inspection was. I was really, really part of that first deal, because I said, like, I wanted to eventually expand and go and do this on my own. And learning in that deal took a little bit of time, because the first property, second property, third property that the clients were looking for didn't really match their needs. And that's when the process really started to come into play. I was like, wow, this client is going out looking. I don't need to go out and look for the home. They're going to go out and look for the home, right? And find the things that they want, for the long term, why they want to stay in that property, right? So that was really kind of the start of it. That's how I had worked with somebody that had already walked through the steps, and in my eyes were an expert. They had done 2 or 3 deals at the time, so I had done 0. In my mind, they were an expert. They did 2 or 3 more than me, so they knew exactly what to do or what to encounter. And that's what I do recommend for any newer investors. Some people think, oh, I don't have any money. I don't. Well, what do you have that's an asset? Is it time? Is it knowledge? What can you bring to the table that you can share with somebody that you want to work with and learn that? For me, it was the willingness to learn, and I obviously have the capital to qualify for the property. And that's what I brought to the table, and why somebody wanted to work with me and eventually partner.
So why would you, may I ask it? So you just hit on something that is so vital, and that's what I'm trying to get across. Several of us in this call are part of my little investor party challenge called Real Estate Survivor. And what we've done is we've partnered up. We've made groups, tribes, and we are working with other investors who are buying in today's market. And we are learning from them, just like you were doing, right? So we're taking our limited, some people are brand new and they have limited experience, and we've got people that have more experience, like Kristen, who've done more, and Pam, who's done a time as a real estate agent. But we're partnering it and putting the systems in place from the master investors. And the idea is, like just what you said, you tagged along because you wanted to learn how to do it so you could do it yourself, right? Yep. And lease option is I don't want to say it's a rare strategy, but it's an underutilized strategy in real estate, because it is more technical. It's so creative, and there's not just one way of doing it, right? So when you're going about, you're trying to think, okay, how do I do this lease option thing? What is that? And honestly, when I first heard of lease option, I had no idea what they were. I was like, all right. So it didn't sound attractive to me. Now I love it, but I do it a different way because it's so flexible for whatever I'm trying to achieve. Long story short, when you were looking to get into it, you provided the capital, but you didn't have the knowledge, right? Now, the person you had, they had the knowledge. So what if you didn't have the capital? How would you have approached your start to investing? If you had no money, what would you recommend people do to get started with real estate investing?
Yeah, well, it was what I was doing. Even though I had the capital to qualify for the mortgage, I was still actively going out and looking for potential candidates that work for rent to own. Now, the strategy that we use and will continue to use is a client first approach, right? So we're qualifying clients that fit into a rent to own. So meeting other experienced, like you said, master investors that knew what they were doing, I was going, okay, what are you looking for? Is it properties? They're saying, no, we're not looking for properties. We're looking for clients. So I said, okay, cool. What kind of client are you looking for? Right. So they would tell me that they would list out the criteria that they're looking for, whether it was an income, a down payment, a specific area that they wanted to buy the property. So those are the things that I would go and look for, and potentially sell them or wholesale them. Like, I know a lot of people here are familiar with kind of the wholesale of a property, get a property under contract and then wholesale it to another investors. Um, what I would do is put out ads, and still do put out ads for specific clients that want to own their home but can't today. So, and in a few cases, we actually wholesale them out to other master investors or other people that were doing rent to owns, that they were willing to. They had they had the capital, they had the knowledge, they were doing all of that. So my suggestion is, somebody that you want to work with or replicate for what they're doing, seeing what they're looking for. What can you help them out with? Are they looking for potential money partners? Are they looking for potential clients? Are they looking for properties? Right? And seeing where you can help. Right? Add in some type of value. If it's not knowledge, it's capital. If it's not capital, it's time. Right? If it's knowledge, capital, and time. Those three things. You have all three. Hey, you can do those deals, but you're still going to want to work with partners, because maybe that's not the main thing that you want to focus on doing all three. You're going to find one. You're going to want to find one that works best for you. If you have a lot of capital, hey, keep working that way there. Get somebody that's way more knowledgeable than you, has way more time, and get them to do that and just provide your capital. If it's time that you have, right, maybe working part-time, or looking to replace your income, right, work part-time, or even kind of pro bono, right, like kind of like as an apprentice type deal, where you're going to learn those things and provide value. Go out and search for what that person that you're looking for, or looking to work with, what they need. In my case, it was tenant buyers. It was clients, on sourcing different leads on where we could find those tenant buyers, those clients. So I would put in the Kijiji ads or Craigslist, or all the different, time newspaper ads, all different types of things, right? Where you would find these people that couldn't qualify for a mortgage, and then they had their own, underwriting system now, like we do, right? So I'd say, here's a potential client, take a look at it. And they would say, hey, no, it's not good, or it is good. And over time, yeah, I was able to accumulate, $2,000 here, or $1,000 there, $5,000 referral fees, all that type of stuff, where you're learning through the process. And then when, that client that didn't work, you'd say, okay, hey, I would say, hey, how come that client didn't work? So I know not to look for that type of client again, right? Or know that I can disqualify them, where I'm not wasting my time writing like a novel of an email explaining this one particular client. There's just one piece of data that I was missing to know that I could pre-qualify them or not qualify them in the program, right? So it's really like, if you're looking for some type of property, then I would go and find where those properties are and say, hey, I found 10 of them. You'd say, hey, you know what, 9 of them suck, but I like one of them. So maybe I can work with those, and then offer some type of compensation back and forth. And that's what it was really about. I wasn't looking for the compensation first. They pay me if you want to look for that. I wanted to learn this strategy and learn this information. So what can I offer to the table that they didn't have or weren't able to do, or just more time? I had another 8, 9, 10 hours of human time that I could spend doing that where they didn't, and I could find something for them that was of value, right? And for me, the value was learning, refining these, and then now, as we're doing in our company, refining who the clients we are looking for, and looking at who that we can help. So yeah, definitely offering something that you have. Everybody has a talent, whether it's speaking with other people, or ruling out other people, driving around, finding properties. There's a certain thing that you can bring to the table that everybody can work with, right? And adding that. So yeah.
So you found that your niche was really, I love how you said it's client centric.
Yes.
I think that's fantastic. And you obviously, when I talked to you on the phone, when we interviewed for this call, I loved how you said, okay, this is my lane. Like, you're talking this way, you deal with your partnership, and your partner's the more technical, like, because I totally get that. Like, I'm definitely not the technical one in my little arrangement. Thanks, Lease and Nelson. So I definitely am not. I have the strategies, I've got the knowledge, I have the creative side. And you're really good at explaining to people, the clients, how the process works with lease options, right?
Absolutely.
So have you used lease options to acquire investment properties on your own? Like, do you do what these are called sandwich lease options? Do you do those often?
Yeah, so we've done definitely a few. The client first and going out and finding the property is definitely the majority of our business. But in the sandwich lease option, we've seen examples where there's current clients that that want to stay where they're currently renting, and the landlord wants to sell, right? They want to liquidate their property, and we've done those a couple cases. Here, we're more comfortable with like the client first approach, right? Where we're explaining the program to the client, qualifying the client, and they go out and choose the home because in our examples we find them more successful when they actually go and choose the home instead of saying, hey, you can do a lease option or rent to own. Here's house A or house B. Well, if I only give you two options of a house, you're going to pick one or the other. You might not like either, but you're forced to pick one or the other versus, hey, here's a number, 300, 400, 500,000. And that's typically the range that we're working in. Go out and find the house that you want, the area, the school zone, it's close to your favorite shopping center, your family, your friends, all that kind of stuff where they go out and choose it. The sandwich lease option works really great too. A little bit more involved in that. A lot more pieces have to line up where the client has to also like the property as well as qualify for the property. But sandwich lease option is a great option for people that that necessarily don't need to sell. They can hold on to their property and you get a little bit more cash flow throughout the term as well.
So how many lease option deals have you done in the past 11 years?
All right. So we officially on last Friday. So we actually sold back. Hold on, give me 1 second, guys.
Now, keep in
Sorry.
mind, guys, lease option transactions have a period of time. So one lease option that can be anywhere between, it could be like 6 months up to 5 years. So, so these numbers are interesting when he tells you about it. But we're going to talk about the different profit centers in a second. Go on, Alfonso.
Yeah, so actually, as of Friday, we've actually sold back. It was number 50, sold back to our tenant buyers. So it's 50 completed rent-to-owns where they've started the program, and now the tenant buyer has bought back the property. And in total, it's over 150 projects that we are a part of. So we have about another 100 or so that are in operation right now, either month one, 2 years in, or completed. So over 150 lease option rental projects that we've been a part of. And I can't even tell you all the ones that we haven't done, but yeah, about 100, 150, over 150 rental projects.
So when he talks about sell back, in other words, that's when the option is exercised. So what that means, when you do a lease option, guys, you have a couple different contracts. You have the lease, which spells out a term, right? And remember, a lease can only be up to 1 year if it's prepared by a real estate professional in the States. If it's more than 1 year, it's got to be done by an attorney. And why is that? It's because leases that are transactions that continue. So a real estate broker or agent has to have a transaction that is finite. It has a start and a finish date, okay? So we're only allowed to have a transaction that goes on with a year without being a licensed attorney, all right? So that's the lease. Then you have an option to buy. Now, there are a couple of different things with an option. It is an option, not an obligation. You do not have to buy the property. You have the option to. Now, why would someone want that? Well, let's think. Let's say that Nelson was moving to Miami. Hi. And you really love it down here, but you just started this job. And while you're hopeful, you've lived long enough to know that things may not always work out. You're going to take this new job on as a contractor. It's only a 2-year contract, but it might extend, like they might extend your contract. Right? So you're moving to Miami and you don't want to waste your money renting because Miami prices are crazy and it's a quickly high appreciating market and you want to get in while you can because you're a savvy home buyer, right? So this is even distressed buyer, for example. Okay, I'm just giving a very basic example. There's so many situations. But right now we have someone who's here. They may be able to stick around, but they don't know because they don't know the security of the company. Maybe it's a startup he's moving here for, right? So let's say the startup won't make as much money going down the line. So he doesn't be locked into a mortgage he can't afford, right? So he's going to rent, but he wants the option to buy the house in case he likes it and it's close to work and he actually is going to pan out. So in 2 years, he will actually buy the house and he wants to secure that price today, so it doesn't get more expensive in 2 years. You follow me so far, guys? So, because property values tend to go up right? Our economy is really booming right now. Home prices are rising. Well, it's rising. So we have, sorry, keep my sarcasm to myself. But that's the idea, right? You want to get in, especially in appreciating markets. It's really helpful along the coastlines. So, so Nelson moves in, he signs a lease, and he has the option to buy. So if he wants to renew his lease, his option could still be intact because it has a specified term, like it's a 2-year term or a 3-year term. He's got the right to buy that property before anybody else. It's like first rights of refusal, okay? So he's agreeing to buy it then. Now, say the company doesn't pan out and he loses his job and he's got to move back to San Francisco. Well, does he have to buy the property? No. Why? Because he had the option. So in that situation, he's had to put down money for that option. You have to put down money or some sort of consideration. That's an act of good or service. So could he buy an option, pop quiz, could he buy an option in trade? Marlon's shaking his head. Anybody else? We got one person shaking their head no. Anyone? Bueller. You're thinking about it. Could he buy an option in trade of goods and services?
Yes.
Alfonso?
Would that be personal preference?
You mean could it be negotiated between parties? So say I was a farmer and I wanted to sell you a cow. Could that work? Yeah, because that cow has monetary value. For me, I did it, my first transaction, I actually gave 10 dance lessons because that had transactional value. My time was intrinsic, there was a market price for it, and I used my skills to get the option. Kind of cool, huh? So I had 10 dance, Carlos is so happy right now, he's like, I get that, right? Carlos, how much do you charge for 10 dance lessons? Unmute yourself, honey. Try it again.
Hello?
Hello. How much do you charge for 10 dance lessons?
Probably 1,100.
$1,100. Okay. So, Alfonso, could you work with that?
We could do, yeah, we've done a whole bunch of creative things, right, that we can help people get into their homes. So at the end of the day, our goal is to help our client get that mortgage at the end, right? So if it's, in terms of, like we've seen, Sea-Doos or RVs and that kind of stuff, right? Where maybe that value, like you said, it has to have like a monetary value where it can be applied, right? But most of our clients, we want to see them have some type of deposit. So are you talking about from the client side, if they were to apply for a rent-to-own program?
Was that a question? I couldn't quite hear it.
Yeah, if they were to apply like an applicant to our rent-to-own program, like Carlos giving that example of that $1,100 worth of value to those 10 lessons.
Yes, that'd be $1,100 worth of value.
Yes, so $1,100 worth of value. Again, with our clients, we want to have them have a saved down payment, right? So that's what we're getting them ready to qualify for a mortgage. So, at the end of the term, when the bank or the mortgage broker is getting them a mortgage at the end, we need to see 3 things: their income, their down payment, and their credit score. Once those 3 things match and are prepared, they're going to go qualify for the mortgage at the end of the term. We're kind of getting it's like a homeowner in training where they're going to do all the things that they need to do throughout those 3 years so that they can qualify. I hope that answers the question.
There you go. So again, that allows for flexibility with your transaction, right? Now there's a difference between an option. There's a difference between a lease option and a purchase option. Do you guys understand the difference between those 2 things?
No.
Carl's like, nope, you lost me now. Okay. So a lease option means you have the option to purchase. All right. A purchase option, and a lease option, by the way, is unilaterally binding, which means Alfonso, if he's doing a lease option with me, right, I'm going to rent to own that property. If I decide to exercise my option, Alfonso has to let me because he made an agreement that's unilaterally binding that if I decide to buy, he has to sell. Does that make sense? Now, a purchase option is bilaterally binding. What does that mean, Pamela?
Both sides are bound to it, not just one side.
Isn't that nice?
What?
Pamela, how many times do we have bilaterally agreeing like contracts from the get-go in a traditional real estate transaction?
No, the seller usually is bound to sell it. That's about it.
But the buyer's not bound to buy it.
Yeah, but the buyer's not bound to buy. The seller would and the buyer would have to sue the seller if they don't go through with it.
Exactly, for breach of contract.
So
that's the craziest thing, guys. So if you're doing, like, if Alfonso's like, okay, listen, purchase contracts are really done more in development. There are some, I love using them. I think they're great, especially if you're with someone who you know is going to make it happen, and you're taking on a lot of the risk. You're like, hey, I'll help you out, but you're going to exercise. Otherwise, you're going to lose. You're going. I can take you to court because we've got a bilateral agreement here. So there are some of those things. I don't typically use them unless it's a special case, but they do exist, right? So, Alfonso, when you actually you talked about when we buy the option consideration, and if you don't want to pay in dance lessons, they've got to put down a down payment, or what we call option consideration. Alfonso, what is option consideration?
Yeah, so there's two. There's the initial option consideration, and then there's the monthly option consideration. So the initial option consideration is how much deposit, essentially, or how much option payment money they are providing at the beginning of the terms. So, for our example, our programs are $10,000 or 3% of the purchase price. So if you're looking at like a $500,000 property, that's about $15,000 of the initial option consideration. Then there's the monthly option consideration. So we collect a lease payment and an monthly option consideration payment. So let's just say that's $500 for 36 months. That actually gets credited back. So from that initial $15,000 that the clients provide, and then $500 each month for 36 months, right? So you guys do the math. At the end of the term, both the initial option and the monthly option is credited back to the buyer, the tenant buyer, to be used as their down payment, right? Because again, down payment, credit score, and income, that's what the lenders want to see. So that's going to satisfy them that they're going to have enough equity, whether it's 5%, 10%, 20% in some cases of the purchase price, and then they're going to get the mortgage for the balance, the 95, the 90, or the 80% loan to value mortgage, right? So that's going to be collected initially from the beginning. And then we work out an equation. If they need $50,000 by the end of the term, right, and they've given 25, well, they need to save up 25 throughout the 36 months. If they've given 15 and they need 50 at the end, right, we need to save up 35. If they've given us 40 at the beginning of the program, they need to save up 10, right, throughout the duration of the program. So each calculation is different for every single client. We typically like to see our clients have 10% savings at the end of the programs, so that they're going to get a 90% loan to value mortgage. And just with everybody here on the call, if someone's going to give you 10% of what they're going to borrow, or 20%, or 50%, the more that you have from them as that security, that's a better case. So the lenders look at it a similar way, right? They'd rather lend on somebody that's giving them 10% versus, say, 5%, right? And vice versa, right? That they're going to want more, skin in the game, or more down payment up front. So that's what the option consideration is that once they initiate or execute their option to buy and say, hey, yes, I am going to buy, they get the credit of what they've given at the beginning and throughout the monthly program.
So you actually help your tenant buyers save up as part of the way you've structured your terms.
Absolutely. It's a built-in savings program, right? Because even just all of us here on this call said, hey, I need to save up 30 grand in the next 3 years. Everybody says, okay, perfect. You can work out the math. It's just a little bit under $1,000 a month. Okay, great. And you know what? You let 3 years go by, I bet you won't get there unless you put some automatic payments, something structured, something consistent. So we have a built-in savings program to say, hey, if you're going to be part of our program, part of your payment is going to be put aside, because we need to know that you've gotten that saved. We can't just hope and pray and wish, and at the end of the 3 years that you get into a back of the cab with a suitcase full of money, or know, I'm playing the lottery every week. That's how I'm going to get my deposit, right? We need something secured, something safe that we know, hey, every month, portion of the payment is going to be credited back, right? And we do that calculation so that that down payment piece is almost a no-brainer, that from the initial that they've given us, plus the typically 36 months of those payments, that it's been saved for them. It's been there, right? And the big saying that, sorry, I don't want to cut you off, but the big saying that we always say is that if you could have done it on your own, you would have done it already, right? If a client could have saved 30, 40, 50, 100 grand themselves, they would have done it already in most cases.
So now keep in mind, this is something, and Alfonso's giving you guys great insight here. We're going to talk about this. So, Alfonso, do you have to credit back your option consideration?
Do we have to credit back?
Are you legally obliged to credit back your option consideration?
In our contracts, no, we are legally required to return them minus any liquidable damages. If they don't buy the property, if the client doesn't buy the property and doesn't, hold up their end of the bargain, then no.
Mm-hmm. So they don't have to credit back the $10,000 whatever they use for the option consideration. They do not have to. They are doing it as a good ethical business practice. Now, Alfonso, do you have to have in a built-in option payment every month?
No, we don't have to, but we secure ourselves by having that. Because again, that example of if we're just relying on somebody to do something that they said, I don't know, best case, there's a 50-50 chance, I don't know, that they will or they won't, right? But if we're setting that up for success, that they do have initial option up front and they have the monthly option, those two together, they're going to have the down payment that they need.
So they don't have to credit back the option consideration. They don't have to build in a monthly option payment. But why do they do that? Guys, I want you to think, if you're a traditional renter, do you care if you leave holes in the wall when you leave? Yes or no? Exactly. Because remember, these individuals still have to put down first, last, and security for the lease. For the option consideration, if they had to put down 5% roughly of that property, is that more money that they don't want to walk away from? Well, let's think about your current situations. How many of you guys want your security deposit back when you're done renting? Yeah. Right? Exactly. So if you have even more money there, do you think you're really likely to make sure you don't put the holes in the wall that you can't cover or fix? Right? Okay, now, on top of that, if you were paying an extra premium every month, that helps you get somewhere. Think of it this way. How many of you guys have bought life insurance or even health insurance and you're paying to that every month just in case you need it? Right? Well, now that money is going somewhere that you can't touch, into a house, right? So it's protecting you from yourself. And now you're building equity in that property when you exercise your option, because it's an option. You do not have equitable interest until you exercise your option. All right, that's why you have the lease. That's protecting Alfonso. The option and the lease protect him and give the renter or the tenant buyer flexibility. Okay, so both parties are winning here. So if you could go into a house and, like Alfonso, you said you guys like 10%? That's what you try to get them to come down with?
Yes, most cases, yeah. We would like to have them at 10% down payment by the end of the program.
Okay, and how long is your program?
Typically 3 years. So I would say about 80% or so of our programs are 3 years. We've had some cases 2, some at 4, some at 5, but for the most part, 36-month terms. And
you have them put down how much for the non-option refundable consideration?
So at the beginning, it's either $10,000 or 3% of the purchase price, with the greater of the two.
The greater of the two. So the very minimum they're putting down is 10 grand. And those are Canadian dollars, by the way. All right?
Yes.
Putting that in terms.
Not Canadian Tire money, Canadian dollars.
Yeah, right? So they put down 10 grand. Are you more likely to try to be a serious buyer if you're putting down 10 grand on a property you're actually renting?
I absolutely. I always compare it to, like, you give the example of the life insurance or the health insurance. I give it the example of like a gym membership, right? So if you had a gym in your neighborhood, okay, COVID excluded, maybe weird to go to the gym and all that kind of stuff now, but before that, right? If you had a gym in your neighborhood and it was free to go to every day and you didn't have to pay, you'd say, hey, maybe I'll go today, maybe I'll go tomorrow, maybe I'll go next week. Well, it's free. I can go whenever, right? But now if you were paying a membership every month, you would say, hey, I'm paying $100 a month or $50 a month for that membership. I better go get use of it. I want to get at least $50 or $100 worth of use of that. And then the thing on top of that, if you're paying for a personal trainer, right, that could be, that could be even more expensive, right? You're paying your $50 a month membership, and now you're paying, let's say, $50 an hour for a personal trainer, right? You're more inclined to follow up and say, hey, I'm paying that trainer. I should go get trained, or hey, maybe I shouldn't stop at the drive-through at McDonald's. Maybe I should go eat something healthy because I'm putting that money towards that, right? So you're definitely more inclined when you are paying something, right? I know for myself, if I put a deposit on something, big or small, I want to make sure that I'm getting the value for that, right? Especially if you're putting down $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, you want to make sure that you're going to get the most benefit from that, or at least getting it credited back to you by doing the things that you need to do to reach your goal. And the goal in this scenario is home ownership.
So as they're doing that, right, he's exactly right. If you have to pay for something that's a premium or a luxury or a benefit, this is how you secure something, right? So for example, in the dance industry, we call these showcases. If people have to actually, you get it. You actually have to buy something that's a bit more, and it actually makes you improve your dancing because you're going to show up for your lessons. You have a goal to work towards. This is simply a goal for the tenant buyer to buy the home. Now, we're going to run some numbers here so you guys have an idea of what these profit centers look like. Alfonso, what is the average price point home that you guys work in?
Yeah, so the average purchase price I can give you is probably somewhere between $300,000 and $500,000. That's somewhere, most cases. So let's go right in the middle and say 400,000.
$400,000. Okay, now I'm a dancer brain, so I'm using a basic calculator. All right, go real simple. I count to 8 for a living and then I repeat. All right, I just keep going. Now, $400,000. He said 3% or $10,000, whichever is greater. Well, let's take a look. Times 3% means he'd have to put down $12,000. So let's use the example of, who's on it? Let's say Bo. Bo wants to buy a home, and he's going to have to put down $12,000 in option consideration to Alfonso. Alfonso, does that money go to you, to an escrow account? Where does it go?
That goes into equity of the home. So as the investor, we use that $12,000 and it actually reduces our capital amount to actually buy the property. So if we're putting it down in Canada here, we need to put 20% down if it's not a primary residence or an income property. So that, 20% of 400,000 would be roughly 80,000, I believe. So
80,000.
80,000. So our initial investment would be the 80,000 reduced by 12. So your actual investment is 68,000. There you go, 68,000.
See that? So now they've reduced their amount of risk in the property. All right. So instead of having 20% in the property, they now have 17% in the property. You guys follow that? This is a 3% option consideration. Okay. So now they've got to get this homeowner up to 10% within their option period. That's what they're trying to do. What is 10% of 400,000? Well, that is $40,000. Oh my God, I did it. Yeah, that's $40,000. Minus $12,000 they've already put into it would be $28,000 left to go. Oh my God, I did it in my head. Yeah, I was right, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. Thank you for the applause. I appreciate it, Melissa. I try. So I'm not just a pretty face. Yeah. Some days I have to spackle this one on today. I look like ass. So now they say we're doing a 5-year option. How many months are in a year? Pop quiz. Anyone? Nelson, how many months are in a year? Oh, goody. So everybody agreeing? Too. Oh, see, you're not just a pretty face too. You're also a racking body. So 12 times 5 means they're going to have a 16-month option period. Does that make sense? They've got 60 months to come up with $8,000. So $28,000, divide that by 60 months means they have to come up with $467 per month so that they can actually have 10% of equity in the home when they go to close. That's on top of their rent. You guys see? Okay, that's very similar to having like an HSA account, right? Like health savings account. You throw money into it every month. If you don't use it, well, guess what? It now becomes a retirement account. But if you do use it for health reasons, it's actually there. It's something kind of along those lines. You're putting that money into something in the hopes they're going to have it when it comes time 60 months from now to buy your home. All right, so in the example, Nelson's in Miami. He's paying his premium rent of $2,000 a month. He's going to pay an additional $467 per month. All right, now, that being said, Alfonso, he's into the property for $1,800 a month. The rent is $2,000. Just on that alone, how much money is Alfonso making on the spread for the rent? $2,000 minus $1,800 is $200. He's making $200 in just cash flow from the lease. All right. Now on top of that, he's getting $467. So how much cash flow is Alfonso getting in total?
600.
$667. Because if he were a dollar cheaper, the transaction wouldn't work. So $667 is what he's getting every month on a $400,000 property that if it were just a straight rental, he'd only be getting $200 per month. You follow? Okay, now all of that's going to the equity of the home. Who has equitable interest in the home right now? Alfonso or Nelson?
Nelson. Nelson?
Both.
Alfonso. Because Nelson hasn't exercised his option yet. So 5 years from when he entered into the lease and now he's ready to go for this $400,000 property, guess what? There is now $40,000 of equity built into the home. So when Nelson goes to get a mortgage and he only has to put down 5% for a conventional mortgage, how much equity does Nelson now have in the home when he buys it?
40,000?
The
There's
5%
40,000 is 10%. If you've got to put down 5%, how much is 5% of 40,000?
20.
20,000. How much has Nelson saved for the purchase of his home? What do we talk about? What's the 10% that Alfonso likes to have them save, right?
10,000.
40,000. Nelson gets a conventional 5% loan. How much did he have to put down? 20,000. What's the difference?
20,000.
All right. So now how much equity is Alfonso generously gifting to Nelson?
20,000. Or another 5%.
Another 5%. Alfonso has now taken Nelson, who took a big risk by moving to Miami and not knowing if his startup company was going to work, and he created a win-win situation because now Nelson has an additional $20,000 in equity in the purchase of a home he's been living in for 5 years. How cool is that? How awesome is Alfonso right now, right? He's looking sexier and sexier to you guys, isn't he? Yeah? Just me? All right, fine. I love this stuff.
And,
Okay.
And I'm not sure, I just want to add something is there too, because we know like there's things out there like, a credit score is a number, a deposit is a number, income is a number, right? So we're always trying to work with these people that actually do want to own their houses, right? Those numbers can all be improved. You can, start a side hustle or an online business and make more income, right? Deposit, Jacob just explained, throughout the initial and throughout the term, right? You're going to get that down payment. And the big thing that we've added in our programs in the last 2 years is really the credit coaching and the credit education, so people can understand their credit. When I bought my first property, it was my own, single family home and property that I was going to live in, I had no idea how I was qualified. I just filled out some paperwork, put my, social security number, filled out my job info, all that kind of stuff. And then the bank gave me a whole bunch of money and I had no idea. I had no idea how I got that money. And that's when the light bulb went off and said, maybe I should learn a little bit more about my credit, because if it improves, maybe it'll give me more money. And that was really the fact, was if I learn more about this, I might be able to get more money. And that's when, the lack of credit education and credit knowledge, that's where I think the biggest issue is for a lot of our clients, is that they don't understand the credit score isn't great and they don't know why.
That's incredibly well said. And I love how you said it's just a number. Your credit score is an algorithm. It's nothing that you can control. You can control it just as much as your eye color, right? Now you can play with it, right? But that's something that you have to learn. It's an entirely different skill set. But if you don't know how to actually work your credit score, it's never going to help you. But what he's doing right now is, say that a traditional financing for a mortgage, you have to have to get a decent interest rate, you have to have a 720, right? Well, let's say that Alfonso has been working with someone, and they are actually, Lindsay and I are working there right now, where the buyer has a credit score of 680 and she needs a 700. 20-point difference. And she can't qualify for this house. Which, by the way, she wants to get a large house to turn into a home for foster children as the age out of the system. What an amazing vision, right? How cool is that? Do you think that I want to go in there and help her out over 20 points on her credit? Do you think that if I'm like, oh, I know how to do this, we can make this work. She has the capital to put down, right? We know what the issue is for her acquiring financing. Do you think we can come up with a way around that if we do something like a lease option over the course of 3 years? Do you think we can raise her credit score 20 points over 3 years? Do you think so? Hint, I raised mine 100 points in 4 months. So yeah, sorry, that was my new kid, my little protege over here. Matthew just went, what? Yes, I did. So you'll meet him later. So you can, if you know how to work the credit game, your life will change. But it's something you got to learn, right? So Alfonso, what are some of the ways you help your clients improve their credit?
We actually have a certified financial planner on our team with 2 financial assistants that are in contact with all of our clients in our program. So we look at all the information that we collect right from the beginning, their job letters, their incomes, and basically what their obligations are on a monthly ongoing basis. We see what their top line revenue is after taxes, all that kind of stuff. And we set budgets forward. Hey, maybe credit cards or lines of credit or student loans are really high. So we strategize and say on a monthly basis, this is how much it needs to go towards the down payment savings. This is how much needs to go towards servicing that debt, right? Paying down, getting those ratios lower, right? Increasing amounts, right? So the actual amount owed is less in proportion of what the credit balance is, right? Prepaid credit cards, putting all those systems in place and looking for, it's almost like anticipating those things and where to save all that, but really budgeting. Because again, we want to look at what the top line revenue is, what that client is making on a monthly basis, and what their obligations are, right? If they've leveraged themselves or put their debt way too high, right? They need to get to a certain point where the banks and lenders will accept them, right? So putting budgeting in, seeing where their money goes. Like, I don't know about you guys, but have you looked at a bill and saying, okay, well, I spend this much on Netflix, Disney Channel, there's Amazon Prime, there's Apple, all these kind of monthly things where if you don't track where that money's going, it goes really quick. My grandfather used to say it's hard to make it, but it's easy to spend it, right? So there's so many places that it's easy to spend. So we try to put those tracking tools, some budgeting in place, so the client is actually feeling more confident about talking about money, borrowing money. It's such a taboo subject, right? Like no one's like, well, I saved this much or I put this much aside, right? People are talking about the weather and other things that are kind of inconsequential to the long term of things, whether it rains tomorrow or not, it doesn't impact our credit score. So we should be learning about the things that are actually going to improve our financial futures, that are going to help us, right? So empowering them, learning about their credit, understanding how it's divided up, and how much they need to pay, and paying bills on time, how important it is, or having a couple of different lines of credit, whether it's a loan, a line of credit, a mortgage line, those types of things, so that when a lender looks at somebody's complete portfolio, they say, oh, great, I can see that this person understands how credit works because they borrow and they pay, and they borrow and they pay. Somebody that doesn't have that history or track record, well, I'll ask you guys, how willing are you going to be able to lend to somebody that doesn't have a good track record paying back what they owe, right? You're not going to want to do that. Why are the banks with their billions and billions of dollars giving that out, right? Who do they want to give it out to? The people that are most likely to pay them back, right? Because if they start giving their money out to people that aren't going to pay back and have to foreclose, that's just more work on their part to collect that money. So understanding how the financial system works, understanding where their money goes on an ongoing basis, giving them the tips and tricks in real time, right? So basically once a quarter, our clients are obligated to have a credit call to see where they stand in the program, right? Like I said, the programs are about 3 years. So we know about 6 months, a year, 18 months into the program, if we're trending in the right direction. That's the tools that we give, like I said, certified financial planner, that it's almost like a credit 411, right? We don't want to be 911 because it's kind of too late at that point. It's an emergency. It's a credit 411 where, hey, I need to buy a new car, or I need to fix something in my house. Where am I going to get it? Or how much time do I have to budget for it, right? We live in an instant gratification society where we just want everything right away. We want the latest thing here, put it on Visa. Or we want the iPhone 27. All right, we want to do that. Let's put that on credit. Let's get that, right? Let's not wait and get that. We want it all right away. But the long term is what's really going to build it. We don't build houses, well, maybe you do in Florida, on sand, but you put the proper foundation first, right? And then you can build on top of that by learning that, right? You can't just say, hey, let's just build a house, let's pick that spot. No, we need to understand what the fundamentals are, so that the clients are better educated throughout the rent-own program and then after. Oh, you're on mute, Jacob.
Thank you. So think of what he just said, guys. He built a program, he and his partner built a program based on services that they benefited from, so therefore others could benefit from it as well. So my first transaction as a part of it, guys, I want you to think about this. This is something that's interesting. The first property I purchased was my condo with my ex. And at the time, I moved down from Chicago to work for a studio that was the #1 studio in the country at that point in time. So I moved down because I was self-employed in Chicago. I needed 2 years tax returns in order to qualify for a mortgage, and I thought I was going to marry this man. Some things don't always work out according to plan. The thing that didn't work out according to plan first, however, was the fact that at the 2-year mark in my business, down here, giving up my entrepreneurship and my freedom of schedule and everything that went with it and making more money to come down to work for a chain studio and giving up my time and sacrifice and my identity and all that happiness, I started slaving away for the man, and the man died. And 2 years to almost the day that I started that job, my studio closed. Now, was that my fault? No, I was an employee. It was not my fault that my studio closed. Did I work with my ex to save the money and build our credit so we were attractive to lenders? Yeah, I was working my assets off, guys. I was a dancer. I was broke. Carlos will tell you, dancers don't make crap if they work for somebody else. Studio owners are horrible to their employees. Sorry about it. I'm calling everybody out though. So you can't actually get ahead. It's a lot harder for an artist to go ahead and make some money. It's really hard. So it took a lot of sacrifice. But now I'm suddenly unemployed. And the worst part is, I'm now teaching lessons on my own, making more money than I ever was before, and I don't qualify for a mortgage. Think about that for a second, guys. I'm making more money than I was before. I had demonstrated that I wanted to be a homeowner and I had improved my tax situation, and I had improved my credit score. Would I have been an attractive candidate had I still been employed for a mortgage? Everybody, show of hands, yes or no. Right? And then you know what? Life happens. We could no longer qualify for the condo that we wanted and the lifestyle that we could afford as a dual income house because my partner was a financial planner. I am now making $120 a lesson, minus floor fee. I'm in Boca Raton, Florida, Carlos, just going rate. So I know, I'm a luxury dancer. So I'm making more money than ever before. My partner finally has his license, a Series 7, a 63, all that stuff. We're actually doing really well. But now my half of the household income does not qualify, which means we went from qualifying for a $200,000 condo to qualifying for a $100,000 condo. Do you think that I wanted to live, or my partner wanted to live in the $100,000 condo lifestyle when we could afford $200,000? Do you see that? So no, we didn't want to live there. So we had to get creative. We were able to get creative because we had already demonstrated the things Alfonso was putting into place, right? When people look at doing these things, guys, does that make them bad people? No, it doesn't. Life happens, right? Life happens. And I wish someone had told me about lease options at that time. Instead, I ended up buying the condo from someone that happened to be my student, and I gave them 10 dance lessons. It worked out in my favor. I'm pretty cool that way. But because I saw that, I was like, there's got to be a smarter way to do this, because you know what? Good people have bad things. I could not control that situation. I didn't control my boss passing away. I didn't control my studio closing, but it affected my life adversely, right? So we were able to get into the house because the seller took what's called took a carryback. We'll talk about that later, different conversation. But it's another form of creative financing, like a lease option, okay? So who are typical people who are looking to be tenant buyers? Well, Alfonso can attest to this. A lot of times they're entrepreneurs, right? They are people who are going through divorces, but they want to stay in the same school district and the neighborhood that their ex is in for the kids. They are people who have bankruptcy in their past, but it's in their past because sometimes life happens, right? Alfonso, what are your typical tenant buyers? Who are they?
Yeah, I love that you said that, because you know what? Bad things happen to good people every day. We've been on this call probably an hour. I don't even want to know all the bad things that have happened to good people out in the world, you know, in the last hour that we've all been together here, right? It happens all the time. You mentioned those that the entrepreneurs are self-employed people, right? That there's just the banks, the lenders just have a different set of criteria, because they view self-employed as, you know, not sure. Hey, if, you know, Jacob, if all of a sudden you said, hey, next week I don't want to go out and work, they're not going to guarantee that income. So they make it a little bit harder to qualify and set the bar a little bit higher. In Canada, we see a lot of new immigrants, newcomers to the country, right? That they don't have any history with paying the banks on time, or any history. We talk about credit score, good, bad. They just don't have one, right? They have no history within the program. And again, when I stay on the self-employed, there's a benefit. I always say, like, if you're self-employed, you get to decide what you make. But there's two definitions of that. You get to decide what you make because, you know, if Jacob wants to work harder and work another 5 more hours to give lessons, hey, that's his call. He gets to decide. He can make that. But the other part is that you get to decide what you claim, right? If you want to claim that you know, if you made $1,000 today but only claim 200 or 300. Well, I don't know what it's like in the U.S., but I'm sure, like they always say, death and taxes, those are the two things that are guaranteed. So if you're not claiming that and paying the taxes on that, no one's going to give you the benefit of that, right? So that's the other part too. So you get to decide what you make, but it's almost like a balancing act, right? Again, people that have had history with their credit where, you know, got, like, you know, family tragedies, deaths or illnesses where costs a lot of money, right, for medication and healthcare and those types of things, where maybe they had to go into their Visa card or into their credit to pay for the things to help loved ones with themselves get out of a tough health situation, right? So that's negatively impacted their credit because now they owe a big amount that they never expected to, okay? And then, yeah, the down payment, guys, if people are renting, like I don't know where all the different cities you're coming from, but in Florida or California or Toronto, right, where rents are high and you're trying to just you're making good money every month, but a lot of that goes towards rent. How much money do you have after, cell phone and groceries and, some fun? You have to live on this life. We're only here for a finite time. You want to have some fun, go out for dinner, enjoy something, right? How much do you have at the end of the month that's going to be saved? The savings, right? So that the down payment, it's hard to come up with 10%. And as like Jacob mentioned a few times, property prices, I always say, real estate goes up and down in an upward motion, right? So it's always going up and down, but at the end of the day, if you pull back 5 years, 10 years, 50 years, 100 years, it's gone higher than it was 50 years ago, no doubt about it. And, to save, you're looking for a property that $400,000, okay, hey, I need 5%, let's say I need $20,000, I have 10. Okay, I'm going to do my hardest. I'm going to save up $10,000. Maybe it takes 6 months. Maybe it takes a year. Well, hey, in 6 months from now, in a year from now, is that property that you love still going to be 400,000? I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe it's now up to 415 or 430 or 450, where now you're back at not at the start, but now you're kind of on that wheel where you need to save up a little bit more than just the initial 10,000. That 40,000. That 20,000 is now 25 or 30,000. So, hey, I need another couple months. And you're on that ongoing hamster wheel where you're trying to catch up and save that money. So those are the most examples of the clients that we see. It's that, they again, and I mentioned it before, it's a lack of credit knowledge as well too, knowing that, I'm just going to pay it 5 days late. I paid my minimum. Or, hey, you know what? I'm going to go, sign up. Like I know when I was a kid, I would go to every sporting game I would sign up for, like the free Visa card or MasterCard, because you got like a free hat or a towel or some type of paraphernalia that if you signed up for, right? That was the bait. Every time you get your credit checked, right, it's actually having a negative impact on your credit, right? So if you're going, hey, I'm going to apply here or go down a whole street applying for credit at every dealership, right? That's going to negatively impact your credit score. So there's a whole bunch of reasons, though those are the main ones that we see. But yeah, again, maybe I haven't covered a couple there, but yeah, like the lack of information, the lack of knowledge, the credit information, saving up is hard to do. And then claiming the right amount on what you actually make, those self-employed people out there, right? And I'll put my hand up there too. I'm self-employed as well now too. I own an entrepreneur, own my own business, but it's tough out there, right? The people giving you the right advice, not generic advice that works for everybody. Like, hey, almonds are healthy. I'm allergic to almonds. If I eat almonds, man, my head's going to get even more red than it already is right now, and my throat might close. So almonds are healthy, except maybe if you're allergic to them, right? So when people are giving advice from a general standpoint, it's tough to see what actually works for you. So that's the key part, is understanding what financial situation each person is specifically in.
That's incredibly well said. You see, as investors, and keep in mind, when I started my company originally, as I said before, my ex was a financial planner. So we were able to leverage his knowledge as a financial planner and what we were learning in real estate to provide multiple vaults where people were storing their wealth. And that was a fantastic thing to do. Now, financial planners do serve a really great purpose for people when they need to get their basic knowledge down. They really do. I think it's great. Use a financial planner that wants to help you grow your money, not take you away from your money. So as Alfonso has said, he's working with a financial planner that understands that real estate's an asset class that can build wealth and help their clients get out of the rat race, or at least have a vault where it's building equity and therefore they're raising their net worth. All right, so make sure you understand that. If you're not going to take control of your own financial future, learn about the credit game yourself, learn about how to get double-digit returns, learn how to leverage appropriately, never leverage your basement, then you need to get a financial planner. But make sure that they listen to you and make sure that you participate. You have to participate in your own recovery, okay? So start participating in it. Otherwise, and I love financial planners. I choose to do my own because I understand, because I've invested the time and the money to get financially educated, all right? I just happen to choose real estate as my vehicle to do it. Some people do stocks, some people do businesses, some people do commodities. It's all gravy as long as you take the time to make yourself accountable and make your own money. Now, we could talk about lease options clearly all day. Like this was just a basic overview. And how do you guys like it? Was this helpful? Was this insightful for you guys? Yes? I want to show you guys something because I know that a lot of the questions come up, especially for real estate agents. They don't really understand where the money comes from, how to structure lease options. So for people who don't understand, let me show you this. This is the Florida, this is my MLS, all right? I don't know if you guys can move this on here. This is the MLS that we have, okay? When you talk to an agent, they do not know, nor do they understand, and oftentimes they don't care, because they don't know that these strategies exist. They think they're illegal, or they're too hard, or they're just commercial, or whatever else you guys may hear. But let me show you this. And we're going to talk real estate survivor, we're going to actually have a conversation about how to talk to your power team about how to get these contracts. But if you see here, this is the library of contracts. These are for Florida, okay? See right here, all of these are the various contracts that we have as real estate agents and brokers in the state of Florida that are prepared and vetted by our board, Florida Board of Realtors. Now, let's see how many of them we actually use as non-educated or just licensed real estate agents, like people who are just licensed. We call them house mouses, like a house mouse, a traditional agent that goes and buys and sells traditional real estate residentially. The affectionate term is called a house mouse. It's actually affectionate. No one get offended. No one's calling you ugly. It's just a house. That's the term, right? But watch this. If I go to Foreign's Packages, boom, these are what we see. This is what we have. This is what we see. And if I want to do a contract for lease, this is what they get to use. Those three things: contract to lease, and then a residential lease for single family duplex or for multifamily. That's simple. This is what most agents get to spend the majority of their time on, right? Now, if I go back, let's take a look here. If I do Foreign Packages, I go for sale. All right, that's all you get. As is contracts, addendum to a contract, a condo rider for buying a condo. If you have an HOA, this is because we're in Florida, so it's coastal possibly. A lead paint disclosure, which goes in pretty much any contract that was before 1978, and your governance form. All right, so that's your approval. All that's all fine and dandy. Look how short, do any of those say options on them? No, but if you actually look and you go find form, option, not you, option. Look at that. What does that say, class? Everybody, out loud, let me hear you. Come on. Oh, there you go. I want all of my agents. Let me hear you, loud. Come on. On Facebook, I see you watching there, Teresa. I want you, what does that say?
Options.
Come on.
Yeah.
Lease purchase.
Oh, lease purchase.
Option. No, yeah. lease purchase, lease option, yes.
Yeah.
And then lease option addendum. Does that mean they exist?
Yeah.
But why would you know to look for them? Guys, when I was getting my broker's license, actually, where's that book I gave you earlier, honey? Where's that book I gave you? Yes. Where's that book I gave you? The real estate book. When I was getting my broker's license, keep in mind, you're getting your broker's license or your agent license, you are literally going through, I'm sorry if I'm boring you, you're literally going through, you're trying to pass a state test, okay? A book this big. We got to the section that actually had lease options in it. Oh, here it is. I actually was open to it. That's hysterical. There we go. Option, here we go. Option contracts as listings. So this part right here, these 5 pages, they told us to skip for the test. So, agents, they have to pass a state test. Why are they not taught options? Can anybody guess why they're not taught option contracts? The contracts that give them the edge as a real estate broker to turn any property into a cash flowing asset for them. Why are they not taught option contracts? because they are. Go ahead. I didn't think it was going to answer. Go ahead, Leanne.
Oh, no immediate commission.
But, correct, that's all they think about is commission. That's actually a great observation, yes. But the reason is, it's because every option is deal specific. And their test is designed to get them to pass a state license. That's it. Does it make them a bad agent or broker? No. They've got to memorize all of this and regurgitate it so they can actually practice real estate legally. But if they don't know how to structure an option, if an option is based around, like Alfonso says, it's client-centric, well, how many clients will you possibly serve, right? Like, it's too much. It's so creative. You have to know your skill. But as you can see, they're clearly here. They exist. So just because your agent doesn't know about it doesn't mean they're a bad agent. You just have to ask them to send you their lease purchase or lease option contract for you to review. That's simple. And now you will show them that, oh my God, this does exist. It is legal. Let's see how it goes. Was this cool to anybody else, or did I just talk to myself for the past 5 minutes?
No,
Is this cool?
To add to that, I remember when I was, first coming out of my training and talking about rent to own and lease option, I can't even tell you how many realtors or even people are saying, no, that's illegal. You can't even do that, right? And that's the thing, right? Some people are shaking their heads, and it's honestly, it's for lack of information. People are scared for new things. I'm scared of new things, right? I take the same way that I go to the office with the ways closed. I take the detour, right? People are scared trying different things, especially when they're not comfortable with it, right? And guys, it's on us to be educated and to share that information, to say, hey, you can do this. And the people that are saying that you can't do that, I'm not in that business anymore of trying to change their mind or convince them. I'll find someone that is able and willing to learn and change, and I don't have to change their mind. I always say it, I don't go from cold to sold. I don't. I'm not here to change people's minds saying, oh, rent to own is not illegal or lease option. And I'm not an advocacy group. I'm here to run my business and show people that this is a benefit. And I think it was Henry Ford, and it was a quote that I got from Pip, is that whether you think you can or whether you think you can't, you're right. And the people that are saying, no, you can't do this, or you can't do that, or you can't do that, sure, you're right. There's enough people, there's millions of people in this world, and there's probably hundreds of thousands of people that we can all work with, and we choose who our power team and the people around us. We want the people that are going to, strive for us to get better, but we don't want the naysayers. Oh, you can't do that. That's illegal. Oh, okay, perfect. It's illegal. Call the cops on my way out or something like that. But yeah, this is really it. Is that the information's out there, and the guys like Jacob that are putting on these parties and these groups that are sharing this info, and now that you have this info, share it with others and share that information to say that if someone that really is interested and saying, no, you can't do that, say you actually can, and if you want to learn more, let me know. That's my answer to them now. So great points, Jacob.
Guys, I mean, there's so many things. Think of it this way. Real estate is how big? It's a third of the damn planet. You think someone can know everything about real estate we've had land ownership for thousands of years, and we have a third of the planet with land. Do you think that someone can know everything about real estate by taking a week-long course and spending $600 to get the real estate license? Do you think I know everything about real estate after 4 years and $100,000 of education? Yes, you heard that correctly. I have the equivalent of a fucking couple of doctorates with real estate. Forgive my French. I'm sorry. I just got mad at myself for that. I was doing so well today. No, I don't. But if anybody tells you otherwise, that's a great thing for you to know, so you don't work with them. Makes sense? They will disqualify themselves for you. All right, so we'll work on that some other time. But that's the idea, okay? So did it help to see that those contracts exist? Did that give you guys some enlightenment? Yeah, okay. So they do exist. Does it take more skill and knowledge? Yes, that's why you need more education. So for those of you in Real Estate Survivor, you're going to be getting some of that. Right now you're doing an assignment competition, but as you see, there's more that you can be doing. And for the rest of you guys, you're going to be learning more as we go. So we are going to be having season 2 of our little challenge. It's going to be coming up here. I'm going to start doing that in about probably a month. Got to get through this one first. It's a lot. So I want to go through the poll questions. Yes, honey.
Oh, okay. No, I saw Marlon had a question. I know he's not on anymore, but.
He was asking about private money in a lease option.
Right.
Can you use a private money? Alfonso, why don't you take that down?
Yeah, absolutely. We've done that. We have private investors, joint venture partners that we work with. Some of them prefer to go on title and buy the house and be on title. We have some partners that it's strictly a capital investment and a straight return. So yeah, we can definitely use private raise and use private capital to purchase houses. At the end of the day, like that's maybe the confusing part for some people. I'm buying a rent to own property. At the end of the day, you're buying real estate, you're buying a property, right? What you're choosing to do with it is your strategy, but getting the property secured, the numbers got to work, and you have to know what numbers are calculated. So we've taken tons of private money where people have either bought the property and then qualified for a mortgage, or in some cases where they've even just bought the whole property in cash, and then they've acted as the bank for our projects as well too. So that's a definite yes.
So thank you, Melissa. That's so sweet. I love that you guys are all here, which is awesome. Private money is great. Like my first property on my own as a single gay guy fishing out there in the big old wide world, I actually had private money help me get into a property. And there's so many guys, money is green no matter what type of transaction you're doing. You just got to find the right way and the right people. And most of that actually came with credibility because I had put the time and effort into myself. So let's go ahead and talk about these poll results. So what type of client or tenant are you looking for in a lease option? A homeowner in training, a renter, or an investor? Well, which one do you guys think? You guys said a homeowner in training. Now you understand a little bit more of that. Okay. What qualifications do you need to ask from a tenant buyer? Capital, credit, or desire to own a home? The answer? All three. Right? Do you guys understand that now after we've had more discussion? Yeah? Okay. What price range do you find lease options? Higher, middle, lower, or war zone? You guys have higher, middle, or lower. 18% said higher, 45% middle, and 36% said lower. Alfonso, what's the answer?
I like the starter home, to be honest with you, so that entry-level market to the mid-range, right? As we get higher, there's different products available for higher purchase prices and higher down payments that might be more attractive. I still think a rent-own could work, but the entry-level home to the mid-range, like I said, in the areas that we work in Ontario, here in Canada, like that's between 3 to 5, even sometimes $600,000 property. So that mid-range is the ultimate sweet spot.
I love that we consider $600,000 mid-range now. It's so funny to me. But yeah, you're right. I'm with you. Right?
Yeah,
So
definitely.
yeah, higher income, it's just typically you do different types of financing. Like you do different types of creative financing strategies. You can do a lease option. It's not unheard of. It's just not as common because there's typically more capital available at that level. You typically do some form of seller financing, the wrap mortgage or a seller carryback. Middle income, absolutely. Lower income, you actually can do a lease option to an investor in the lower income area, by the way. That's actually one of the things I like to do. Now, what about properties that can be purchased with an option? Everyone says single family home, great. Now, we also had multifamily, mobile home, land, vacation home, rentals, and other. So what properties can be leased with an option to buy? You guys missed a couple of things here. Multifamily, can we lease with an option to buy?
Yes.
Very good.
Definitely. Yeah.
Mobile homes, can we lease with an option to buy? I love that. That's actually what I do. I don't like doing rentals in my mobile homes. I like finding people who want to live in them, right? Think of this way, mobile homes are part of the DMV, which means they are what?
Vehicle.
That's right. If you go to a dealership, are you able to buy or lease a car?
Yes.
So why couldn't you do this? Exactly. If you lease a car, you've got the option to buy it. Then if you lease, a mobile home is a what? A car. Boom. There you go. Did that just put it together? You do it every day. Guys, investing is every day. It's made simple. All right. Land. Can you buy a land with a lease with the option to buy? What are you leasing? Is there a property on there to lease? We're thinking vacant land right now. The answer is yes. That was a trick question.
The land.
You can rent the land rights. That was the trick question there. You can lease the land. So a lot of times, if you see people who are doing oil and they're trying to drill for oil in that area, like in Oklahoma and in Texas, stuff like that, what they're doing is they are leasing the mineral rights or the subterranean rights to dig the oil, and they'll give a royalty to the landowner as rental payment, right? That's the kind of idea for the land. What about vacation home? Because you rent to own a vacation home. Absolutely. Sure you can. What do you think a timeshare is? Except don't do timeshares. That's really not what they are. But I'm just trying to give you an example of things that are kind of sort of, not really. Timeshares aren't my favorite thing. Rentals. Can you do a lease option with a rental? Yes. If you have a landlord, for example, that wants to get out of his properties at a rental property, can you decide, hey, I'll take on the hassle of the toilets and the termites, and I'll pay you every month because that's the fun part anyway. Let's turn your property into an annuity. Awesome. I'm going to pay every month, and I'm going to take on the rental cash flow. Perfect. Right? So yes, you can do it. Are there other things you guys can do with the lease option? Yes or no? As I already shake my head, no. You guys, oh, yeah. Got it. Yeah, you like that? A little NLP? Yeah. Okay, so was this helpful today, guys? Was this exciting? Was this informative? Yeah? Alfonso's kind of a rock star. I can see why you're so popular. Oh, I wanted to ask you one more question, Alfonso, because this is important.
Yes.
How many deals did you have to do to change your life and become financially free?
Ooh, you know what? It was about after the sixth property that I did, and I said, that's when, at that point, maybe in hindsight, it was too early, but where I left my full-time job and I decided to become a full-time investor to say, hey, this is something. So it's a different number for everybody. So everybody's got to find out what their number is. But for me, it was less than 10. So it was definitely, the fifth or sixth deal that I said, hey, this is the thing for me, and it's changed my life, the course of life for my family, and and thank you for the opportunity to present. And this is my favorite thing that I do now. Like, we don't get into the real estate because we love bricks and mortar and sidewalks and drywall and all that kind of stuff. We love it because of the things that it can do and the things that it allows us to do in our lives and strengthen relationships and help other people. So it's all you guys that are on this call, continue to do the hard work, the consistent hard work, and learn about that. So I really appreciate you having me on here, Jacob.
Could I ask one question?
Sure.
Alfonso, you mentioned you brought in a financial advisor or planner to help with the credit and everything. And what was the incentive for the financial person just up to getting possible clients, or was it a program that they had to buy into with, to be your tenant?
Well, with our in-house financing, like we pay them a salary, right? They're on staff with us, and obviously they're incentivized for every client that qualifies as well too. So if they can, confirm the financing with ABC Bank, ABC pays them the commission on getting them the mortgage as well too. So definitely incentivized. But for us, it's more to control it. Same way that we do the deposit. Now we have a certified financial planner that's putting together a plan for each client, and again, just increases the success rate of our clients following through and buying the property at the end.
So you're really a full service one-stop shop.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
That's actually one reason why I wanted to have Alfonso on, because their success rate for lease options is higher than most lease option companies. All right. So, and there are some people out there who will do lease options and they will specifically not set their clients up to win. And I don't find that ethical at all. If you're going to tell someone, hey, I'm going to help you buy this home, I want you to buy this home.
Yeah, that is not, in my opinion, a long-term strategy. You can do that. You maybe do 1, 2. If you do them really fast, maybe 3 or 4. But that reputation will precede you, right? At the end of the day, we want to help more people get into home ownership and put them in a best case scenario in those. And sometimes we have to be realistic, and some people have a champagne taste on a beer budget, and we got to give them a realistic mindset and say, this is the property that you need to start with. Yes, you want to move into the $1 million home one day, you have to start somewhere. So yeah, that really is it, and that's how we're able to create that success, is that putting the plan in place. We don't want to put false senses of expectations or hope in people's minds when they can't. They're at this point, they're in a vulnerable position to start with, right? They can't qualify for a mortgage. We don't want to put them in a worse spot than they came to us.
So tell me, who's your typical customer, buyer that you're putting into the lease option? What's their age, the income?
Yeah, in terms of demographic, we've had as young as like a couple that was 21, 22 years old, right? That they were, just getting onto the property ladder. We saw, an old, a little bit more in their age, like in the mid 60s. So the range, I don't know, 20 to 80, right?
Okay.
What's most important is the income levels. Like we have a minimum criteria of $60,000 of income per year. And like I mentioned before, the deposits. So really, if you're 20 years old and make 65,000, or if you're 50 years old or 7 years old, make $60,000.
That's a household income, right?
That's how, total household income. Yeah, right. two people. And the income and the deposit really is what sets the criteria. The demographic, we've seen all different types, everything, right?
Okay.
We're all human beings, right? So at the end of the day, that's the criteria. It is, yeah. Self-employed is a big one as well too, because again,
they don't have 2 years, but they have.
Exactly, right. And the banks do look at them a little bit differently, right?
Right.
But
yeah. So that's how you're doing. So I'm presuming right now, because you're in business a while, it's mainly word of mouth. I would think you're getting a lot of referral business, but are you finding them just from doing internet ads or?
Absolutely, yeah. We try to be pretty consistent on social media with Facebook and Instagram. We have the Kijijis and the like kind of directories or online classified ads, if you will. Right. That kind of way. These types of programs are education sessions as well. We're doing that. Word of mouth is definitely one of the top ways. And then we try to be everybody's rent to own program. So if you're a realtor or mortgage broker, right, where we want to be the experts and, as it says here, the specialist in rent to own, and I want Jacob to be the specialist in his area in terms of real estate, right? So he knows that area, that part of town, it is that those purchase prices, we know it's a good deal or not. I don't have the time to do the research to say, this area is that's a good purchase price, that's a low purchase price, what's the history? We want to look at the rent to own. So partnering together with different mortgage brokerages and real estate firms and companies, that's a big way to business, that we want to be the rent to own program or the rent to own department per se, for all of these professionals.
You also need to make sure that you know what state you're in, because some states do not allow lease options. Right. So but there are ways to do it. You just have to know what you're doing that's in accordance to your state. Florida, we can do them. Yeah. No problem.
Oh, but Alfonso, you're just basically in your area, right?
We're in Ontario. Yeah, we're in Ontario, a couple other provinces, but again, as we make some good connections, and as I see you guys here, the U.S. is a huge market, 10 times the population of Canada, right? So to me, that just says that's like 100 times more the opportunity, right? So I eventually see some type of expansion. Obviously, we have to put some things in place, but
I'm to franchise, huh?
I never say never. Never.
You guys are going to see a lease option in practice as I go through and I do this flip that I'm working on. I'm actually going to be selling it as a lease option, so you're going to see it firsthand. Now, that being said, I've got to get a lease turned into my broker so I can get a commission. I've got 20 minutes. So we're ending this phone call. Guys, you are amazing. I thank you so much for being here. If you aren't a part of Investor Party, well, sign up and get on the party. If you've got questions, we're here to help you. Alfonso, I'm so grateful you're here, man. This is so much fun. Did you have fun?
Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Jacob. And, this is amazing. I look forward to jumping on more of the parties. If you guys want to get in touch with me, get on the website, get a hold of Jacob. He knows how to get a hold of me. Love to help you guys. I know I've already from the last time just impromptu jumping on your call, had a few people reach out and have had some phone calls. So I would love to hear from more of you guys and help you along your journey and continue to grow. So thank you very much, Jacob. Thank you very much.
Thanks,
for everybody on the call
Alfonso.
today.
Love
Thank you,
Jacob.
everybody. Love you guys. You're all wonderful. Bye. This
Bye.
replay of this call will be on Party Chatter in a little bit once this is done converting, okay? Bye, everybody.